Hook and introduction. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, life keeps throwing challenges your way, obstacles you never asked for, pain you never saw coming, and struggles that seem impossible to overcome? What if I told you there's an ancient philosophy that can help you not just survive these moments, but actually turn them into your greatest strengths? For centuries, Stoicism has guided warriors, leaders, and thinkers through storms far greater than ours. Its wisdom is not about escaping hardship but about transforming it into power. And today, these lessons can do the same for you. In this video, I'll share 12 powerful Stoic lessons that can reshape the way you see your struggles, your relationships, and even yourself. These aren't just abstract ideas from dusty old books, they are practical tools that you can apply every single day. If you embrace them, you'll find yourself calmer in chaos, stronger under pressure, and more resilient than you ever imagined. And before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to Sculpted Grace, where we uncover timeless insights designed to help you master your mind, build resilience, and live a life of true strength. Now, let's begin. Lesson 1: Control what you can, accept what you can't. One of the most powerful Stoic teachings is simple yet life-changing: focus only on what you can control, and let go of what you cannot. Think about it, so much of our daily stress comes from obsessing over things outside our influence. We can't control traffic, the weather, or other people's opinions, yet we waste hours fuming about them. The Stoics understood that trying to control the uncontrollable is like trying to stop the tide with your bare hands. It only leaves you frustrated and exhausted. Freedom, they said, begins the moment you separate what belongs to you from what doesn't. Imagine you're preparing for a job interview. You can control how much you study the role, how clearly you communicate, and how confidently you show up. But you cannot control the interviewer's mood, the other candidates, or even the final decision. If you obsess over those things, you'll spiral into anxiety. Instead, a Stoic would say, give your best to what's within your power, and then release the rest. Epictetus reminded us, some things are up to us, and some are not. When you live by this principle, setbacks lose their sting. Rejections become redirections. Life still tests you, but you remain unshaken because you've anchored yourself only in what you can truly command: your actions, your choices, and your mindset. Lesson 2: See obstacles as opportunities. Life is full of challenges that at first glance seem unfair, crushing, or impossible to endure. A sudden failure, a financial setback, or even a betrayal can feel like the end of the road. But the Stoics taught us to see obstacles differently, not as walls blocking our way, but as stepping stones guiding us forward. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, every obstacle is not an enemy, but a teacher. The challenge itself can be the very thing that forces you to grow into a stronger, wiser, and more capable version of yourself. Think about Thomas Edison, who failed over 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Or imagine training for a marathon. Every muscle ache, every moment of exhaustion feels like resistance, but that resistance is exactly what builds your endurance. The Stoic mindset encourages us to look at problems with fresh eyes and ask, what is this teaching me? How can this make me better? Instead of drowning in self-pity, you channel that energy into action. When life pushes you down, Stoicism invites you to stand up taller, armed with the lesson the obstacle has gifted you. What once felt like a curse becomes the very reason you rise. Lesson 3: Practice voluntary discomfort. The Stoics believed that to live well, we must prepare ourselves for hardship before it arrives. Seneca often reminded his students to practice poverty, sleeping on the floor, eating the simplest food, and wearing rough clothing just to remind himself that he could survive with less. Why? Because when you practice voluntary discomfort, you strip fear of its power over you. Suddenly, the thought of losing luxuries or comforts doesn't terrify you anymore. You realize that happiness doesn't depend on wealth, possessions, or constant pleasure. It comes from resilience, self-discipline, and gratitude for what you already have. Think about fasting for a day, taking a cold shower, or walking instead of driving. At first, it feels unnecessary, even uncomfortable. But slowly, you discover that you're tougher than you thought. Imagine losing your job. If you've already practiced living simply, you won't panic, because you know you can adapt. By deliberately facing small hardships, you prepare yourself for the big ones life throws your way. This doesn't mean you should reject comfort altogether, it means you should never become its prisoner. Voluntary discomfort trains your mind to say, even if I lose everything tomorrow, I will still be strong enough to endure. Lesson 4: Focus on the present moment. So much of our suffering comes not from what's happening now, but from our endless worries about the past and the future. We replay old mistakes, wondering what if, or we obsess over what's to come, fearing things that may never happen. The Stoics taught that true peace can only be found in the present moment, the only place we truly have control. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Confine yourself to the present." When you train your mind to stay here, now, the weight of regret and the fear of tomorrow dissolve, leaving you lighter, calmer, and more capable of facing life as it is. Imagine walking outside on a sunny morning. If you're lost in thought about yesterday's argument or tomorrow's bills, you miss the beauty right in front of you: the warmth of the sun, the sound of birds, the freshness of the air. Or think of an athlete on the field. If they dwell on the last mistake or the final score, they choke. But when they anchor themselves in the play unfolding at this very second, they perform at their best. Stoicism teaches us that life isn't found in the past or the future, it's always happening now. By training yourself to be present, you gain clarity, you waste less energy, and you finally begin to live fully. Lesson 5: Value your time. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves that time is the most precious resource we have. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Think about that. We guard our money, our homes, and even our passwords, but how often do we let people, distractions, or meaningless habits steal away our hours? Unlike money, time can never be earned back. Every wasted moment is gone forever. The Stoics urged us to treat time as sacred, to live each day as if it might be our last, and to give our attention only to what truly matters. Consider how much time is lost to scrolling endlessly on social media, binge-watching shows you don't even care about, or engaging in petty arguments. Imagine if even half of that time were invested in learning a new skill, strengthening your relationships, or simply reflecting on life. The Stoics would say that time is life itself, and every wasted hour is a piece of your life you will never get back. When you begin to see your minutes as golden coins, you spend them differently, you become more intentional, more focused, and far more grateful. By guarding your time, you honor your life, and you ensure that when your final day arrives, you won't look back with regret, but with fulfillment. Lesson 6, Remember you will die, memento mori. One of the most sobering yet empowering Stoic practices is the daily reminder of our mortality, memento mori, which means remember that you must die. To modern ears, this may sound dark or depressing, but for the Stoics, it was a source of deep motivation. By reflecting on death, they sharpened their sense of urgency. They knew that life is fragile, and tomorrow is never guaranteed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." When you live with this awareness, every moment becomes more precious, and you stop postponing the things that truly matter. Think about how often we delay joy. We tell ourselves we'll travel when we're older, we'll mend that broken relationship someday, or we'll pursue our passion once everything is perfectly aligned. But someday never comes. The Stoics used mortality as a compass to prioritize what's essential: love, wisdom, courage, and kindness. Imagine waking up each day as if it were your last. Would you still waste hours in anger or envy? Or would you speak more gently, love more deeply, and act with greater purpose? Memento mori isn't meant to make you fear death, it's meant to make you truly live. Lesson 7, Control your desires. The Stoics believed that much of human suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from our insatiable desires. We crave wealth, status, recognition, and comfort, but the more we chase, the more enslaved we become to things outside our control. Epictetus taught that freedom doesn't come from fulfilling every desire but from mastering them. If you always want more, no amount will ever be enough. But when you learn to want less, you discover that you already have more than most. This principle is not about rejecting pleasure or ambition, it's about learning to live without being dominated by them. Consider how advertising constantly tells us we're lacking: a better car, a bigger house, the newest gadget. Yet Stoics remind us that none of these guarantee happiness. A millionaire plagued by envy and discontent may be poorer in spirit than a simple worker who sleeps peacefully at night. You gain real power when you can look at temptation and say, "I don't need this to be complete." By disciplining your desires, you reclaim your inner freedom. Instead of being pulled in 1,000 directions, you can focus on living with virtue, clarity, and peace. The Stoics didn't seek to kill desire, they sought to master it, so it served them rather than enslaved them. Lesson 8, Accept Fate, Amor Fati. One of the most powerful ideas in Stoicism is amor fati, the love of fate. The Stoics taught that life is filled with things outside our control: illness, loss, failure, even death. Instead of resisting these realities with anger or despair, they believed in accepting them as part of the natural order. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that whatever happens, no matter how painful, is woven into the fabric of the universe. To fight fate is to fight reality itself, and reality always wins. But if you learn to embrace it, even the harshest trials can become meaningful. Imagine losing a job you thought defined your identity. Most people would collapse into fear or resentment. But a Stoic would see it differently. Perhaps this loss is an opportunity to grow, to redirect energy toward a new path, or to cultivate resilience. Fate doesn't always give us what we want, but it often gives us what we need to evolve. By practicing amor fati, you stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Why not me?" You understand that every event, pleasant or painful, is shaping you into who you're meant to become. This doesn't mean you must passively accept injustice or never take action, but it does mean refusing to waste your spirit on resisting what cannot be changed. True strength lies in aligning with life, not fighting against it. Lesson 9, Train your mind daily. The Stoics understood that the mind is like a muscle: it weakens when neglected and strengthens when trained. They didn't wait for crises to test their resilience, instead, they prepared for them every day. Marcus Aurelius journaled each morning and night, reminding himself of what was in his control and what was not. Epictetus advised his students to rehearse hardships mentally so that when difficulties came, they wouldn't be caught off guard. The purpose of this mental training wasn't pessimism, it was preparation. Just as an athlete doesn't step into the arena without practice, a Stoic doesn't face life's struggles without discipline. Consider someone who practices gratitude daily, who reflects on their reactions, and who prepares mentally for loss and hardship. When unexpected challenges arise, an argument, a financial setback, or a health scare, they remain steady, not because life is easy, but because they have rehearsed these possibilities in advance. This is the power of training the mind. You cannot expect to remain calm in a storm if you never practiced sailing in rough waters. The Stoics remind us, discipline today prepares you for resilience tomorrow. Each day, even in small ways, through journaling, meditation, or reflection, you strengthen your inner fortress. And when life inevitably tests you, that training will be the difference between collapse and composure. Lesson 10, Focus on the present moment. The Stoics were deeply aware of how much time people waste worrying about the future or regretting the past. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." They believed that anxiety is born from trying to control what hasn't happened yet, and sorrow comes from clinging to what has already passed. The only time we truly possess is the present moment, the breath you are taking right now, the choices you can make in this instant. By focusing your attention here and now, you regain control over your life. Instead of being tossed around by what ifs or if onlys, you anchor yourself in reality. Think about the times you were overwhelmed with worry. Maybe you lay awake imagining worst-case scenarios that never actually occurred, or you replayed past mistakes until you felt paralyzed. None of those thoughts changed the past or shaped the future, they only stole the present. Stoicism teaches us to live fully where we are, to bring our best effort to this moment, and let the results unfold as they may. For example, if you're preparing for an exam, focus on studying today instead of fearing the grade you might receive tomorrow. If you're spending time with loved ones, be present instead of scrolling through your phone. Life only ever happens in the present tense. The more you embrace it, the more peace you'll find. Lesson 11. Practice gratitude for what you have. The Stoics believed that much of human misery comes not from lacking, but from forgetting what we already possess. Seneca often reminded his students that wealth is not measured by abundance, but by learning to be content with little. Gratitude, then, is not just a moral virtue, it is a practical tool for happiness. When you train yourself to notice what is already present in your life, from your health to the roof over your head, you naturally shift away from envy, comparison, and dissatisfaction. This mindset frees you from the endless pursuit of more and roots you in sufficiency. Consider how easily we overlook the ordinary blessings that shape our days. The fact that you can read these words means you have eyesight, access to knowledge, and time to reflect. Many would consider that a luxury. Yet, without gratitude, even great fortunes can feel empty, while with gratitude, even simple bread and water can feel like a feast. A Stoic doesn't wait for life to be perfect before appreciating it. They recognize that imperfection itself is part of the gift. Start small, write down 3 things you're thankful for each day, or pause to savor the warmth of sunlight or a kind word from a friend. In practicing gratitude, you discover that happiness was never out there waiting to be found, it was always within your perspective. Lesson 12. Live with virtue above all. For the Stoics, the ultimate goal was not wealth, fame, or even comfort, it was to live with virtue. They believed that external successes are fleeting, but character is lasting. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that his role was to be a good human being above all else. To the Stoics, virtue meant practicing wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control in daily life. These were not abstract ideals but practical guides for action: wisdom to know what is right, courage to do it, justice to treat others fairly, and self-control to master one's own impulses. Think of the people you admire most. Chances are, it's not because of their possessions, but because of how they live with integrity, with kindness, with resilience in adversity. That is the Stoic vision of virtue, a life so aligned with values that even fortune cannot shake it. Living with virtue means choosing honesty when lies seem easier, showing compassion when anger feels natural, and holding to discipline when laziness tempts you. It doesn't guarantee a life without pain, but it does guarantee a life of meaning. In the end, the Stoics remind us that the measure of a life is not what we accumulate but how we live, and whether we can face ourselves each night knowing we stayed true to our highest self. Conclusion. So there you have it, 12 powerful Stoic lessons that can transform how you see yourself, your struggles, and the world around you. Each one, whether it's accepting fate, focusing on the present, or living with virtue, offers not just abstract wisdom, but a practical way to approach life with more clarity, resilience, and peace. Stoicism doesn't promise a life free of hardship, it promises a way to face hardship with strength and dignity. And in that, it offers a freedom that external success can never match. If these lessons resonated with you, remember, Stoicism isn't something to just think about, it's something to practice daily. Choose one lesson, apply it to your life this week, and notice how it changes your perspective. And if you found this guide valuable, be sure to like this video, subscribe to Sculpted Grace, and share your favorite Stoic insight in the comments. Which lesson spoke to you the most? Stay strong, stay virtuous, and remember, the path to inner peace begins with the choices you make today. Expanded conclusion. As we reach the end of these 12 Stoic lessons, take a moment to reflect on what they truly mean for your life. Stoicism is not a distant philosophy meant only for scholars or ancient emperors. It is a living practice, one that speaks directly to the struggles you face each day. Whether it's the sting of loss, the weight of uncertainty, or the frustration of setbacks, these teachings remind you that you always have a choice. You may not control the storm, but you can control how you steer your ship. And often, that inner control is the very thing that transforms chaos into clarity. Think about the world we live in today, fast-paced, filled with distractions, and constantly demanding more of us. It's easy to feel pulled in 1,000 directions, always chasing what's next while rarely feeling at peace in the present. Stoicism cuts through that noise. It calls you back to what really matters: your character, your choices, your ability to face life with resilience. When you apply even one of these lessons, whether it's embracing fate, practicing gratitude, or focusing on the present, you start to reclaim your sense of agency. You begin to see that peace and strength aren't found in avoiding challenges, but in meeting them head-on with calm determination. And remember, transformation doesn't come overnight. The Stoics practiced daily journaling, reflecting, reminding themselves of what was in their control and what was not. In the same way, you don't need to master all 12 lessons today. Start small. Pick one idea that resonates deeply with you and live it out this week.